So, I talk to our players all the time about, there's nothing easy about winning games in college football. And today was a great example of that. Certainly, the start of this game didn't go the way we had hoped or the way it wanted. But it's really, the most important thing is how you finish. And I was struggling during the game, just trying to, think what this game reminded me a little bit of. And Ray Braithwaite kind of hit it in the head in the locker room. We talked about Purdue in 02. And it's one of those games where at the end of the game, you just wonder how the hell did we do that? And Purdue was certainly that kind of a game. So a lot of stuff out there that didn't go the way we wanted or the way we intended. That's for sure. A lot of ups and downs during the course of the game. We talked to our guys about that also. And, when that's going on, all you can do is stay together and just try to keep your eyes forward, and see what you can do, in the forefront. So that part, I think our guys really did a great job of that. I just want to say I want to credit Michigan State, and I'm not at all surprised, and that's something I really tried to accentuate with our team. You look at a team right there they were 0-5 a couple of weeks ago in Big Ten play, and it's clear they've made a choice. Their team made a choice of how they're going to finish the season out. Go up to Minnesota, outgain Minnesota by like 160 yards and lose in overtime. And then last week against Penn State, who we've got a lot of respect for and had to play them, it's a 4-point game with 55 minutes left. So the average fan looking at the score says, okay, it was an easy game. And you watch the tape and you see the team is playing hard and competing. And I think that speaks volumes about the job that their coaches are doing and their players are doing. So, we had great respect, just so everybody understands that. Them coming in here, we had great respect and knew this was going to be tough. Obviously, we didn't have much flow going on, rhythm, however you want to term it, but it wasn't a lot going right well for us or smoothly in that first half. And, Michigan State gets credit for some of that. They were pretty aggressive with their defense, certainly, and did a good job there. And then, quite frankly, there's a couple things that happened right at the end of the first half and then into the third quarter where, I started getting concerned just in terms of, you miss opportunities, leave stuff out there, and then, are you going to be able to make that up? And, so that's kind of where that was at. But the bottom line is I'm just really proud of how our players stayed the course. They didn't flinch. They just kept pushing and playing, and then encouraging each other. And then, they continued to compete, which is the most important thing. And the coaches kept coaching. So, it's a 60-minute game. And if you quit, you got no chance. And certainly our players did a great job there. So just really proud of them and very, very happy for them because they certainly, we've had some tough losses. And, you deserve what you get. That's about how it goes. But sometimes it doesn't always work that way. So just really happy for our guys. They can celebrate in the locker room after an effort like that. And, hate to single out. I don't hate to, but, single out some efforts. Carson Shire got a lot of guys look like they're playing their best football. Carson and Xavier are both seniors that just are playing at a faster clip than they would have been, maybe a couple months ago. And then, Caden Weegan just single-handedly kept us in the game today in a lot of ways, just with his returns. And I don't know if I've ever been around a player like that, that electric, that much juice. And tonight he's certainly impacted the game. Again, going back to that Purdue game where you have a couple key special teams plays in that game, and somehow, some way, you end up finding a way to win the ball game. So I'd be remiss if I didn't single his efforts out. And you think about Drew Stevens up there with Nate Kading, and that's a pretty high bar. Nate set that early in this whole thing. And then, now you got Kading with Tim Dwight, and that's pretty good company when you talk about place kicking or you talk about return game. So just, again, overall happy for our guys, really proud of them, happy for them. And I'll throw it out for questions. But first I just want to, a couple of weeks ago it was John Campbell leaving, a Hall of Famer, and then Michael lost the same way. So I know Mike will totally be embarrassed, and that's good, all right, because you get me all the time. So just want to do that, but I'll share a quick story with you. First of all, I've had great respect for Mike as a journalist for 27 years now. Just think he does really quality work, and quite frankly, I don't read a lot of stuff. No disrespect meant there, but I read a lot of his stuff, and I've always had great respect for the way he goes about his business, the way he does things. And when I took this job, 27 years ago, Mike actually traveled out. I don't know if you guys knew that, but traveled out to Baltimore. We sat down on a Saturday night after meetings and all that, and we visited for I don't know how long, and did a really nice piece, and but had a good visit that night. Appreciate him making the effort to come out and visit, and just been an admirer of his for a long, long time. So, Mike, just appreciate your great work. All right. Throw it out for questions. Elliot.
Hey, Kirk, Elliot Clough, HawkeyeInsider.com. I know you mentioned the Purdue game in 2002. As someone who was 6 at the time, what I think of...
Thanks. I had dark hair, too.
Sorry. Yeah. What I think of is the 2023 season. It seemed like you guys just pulled out win after win after win.
They were all hard, yeah.
Yeah. Did it feel like
Drew
that?
Tate was in the locker room, too. I don't know if you guys saw him, and they were all hard in 04, too. I'll go back to that first point. Winning's hard. It is hard. But, those years it was harder than ever.
And the second part of the question was, Mark mentioned that you've been emotional after almost every win. Can you share what is behind that for this season?
I guess as you get older, the highs are a little higher and the lows are a little lower. And I thought today we might be in one of those lowers. So, but it's just happy for the guys. It's, you talk about doing things a certain way, but then for guys to go out and do it, especially when it's tough, it's incredible. So, it makes you feel good. Kind of like being a dad, one of those deals. Times 100.
Jackson Miller, it's Daily Island. Coach, you mentioned Carson Shire in the Open. Just what did you like from him tonight, and then just where have you seen him grow over those last offseason?
It's he's always been a talented guy, and just developing the right focus. And then, unfortunately for him, kind of like Jay Higgins. Jay got stuck behind Drew Campbell. So Jack Campbell. Drew's on our team now. So you're behind Jack Campbell, and it's like I'm playing pretty well, but here's a guy in front of me, and you think about our backers, the Will backers. We've had Seth Benson and then Nick Jackson, 2 outstanding players as well. So, but he just kept working. He helped out on special teams, kept getting better, and then even early in the season, I told the NFL guys, I said, this guy's an NFL player, in my opinion, but he wasn't playing there yet because he hadn't played enough to really see things and hit it. And that's the beauty of experience. Once you get on the field and you're doing it at game speed, you start to just kind of know when to go and how to go. And I think that's what we saw tonight. He's playing with some confidence now. Boy, it's fun to watch him play.
Scott. Hi, Scott Doctorman with The Athletic. I wanted to ask you about your opponent today and Jonathan Smith. In some ways, there's some parallels to him now and you at the start of your career. He's lost nine straight in the Big Ten, but they're competitive. They're fighting the way you guys did. You were 2-18. He's trying his best, but just coming short. What kind of advice do you give to a coach like that, and just to know that just keep chopping, because in today's world they don't give you as much time?
That's why I'm not smiling about what you're talking about. I'm smiling about good luck selling any of that stuff anymore. But that to me is where people miss the boat so often, and that's the message I want to make sure our team, especially Wednesday, understood. These guys had every reason just to kind of pack it up, and believe me, there's a lot of people who don't mind doing that sometimes, and but it was clear they made a decision. Their players, and I assume that starts with the coaching staff, made a decision they're going to keep playing and keep playing competitively. And I just look at what they did up at Minnesota, what they did a week ago against a really talented Penn State team. It shows you they're doing things right, and most importantly, the players are doing things right, which means they're getting good guidance from their coaches. And I felt very similar. I think to me where they're at that's where we were in 2000, excuse me. And we did get a legitimate win up at Penn State, but and Northwestern the week after, and then lost that last one. But it's part of the process. Sometimes you got to fail to succeed, and if you're doing it right, you'll learn from your failure. And that's what I see across the way. Not that I'm coaching their team, but I've had great respect, and I've had great respect for Jonathan as a person. His resume to me speaks to me. He's a walk-on player, played really well, and then I can tell you this. I'm not an expert on this one, but I said as ever, I pay attention to college football. I don't think winning at Oregon State's easy. I asked Mark Helfrich yesterday, who coached at Oregon, so he knows that, and it's a tough place to win, and Jonathan did a great job there.
Chad Leister, Good Morning Register. 2002 Purdue, you had a quarterback that made a really clutch throw at the very end. How did you see Mark get to the point today where he was able to make those clutch throws? Did you ever consider having someone else make those throws during the game?
Yeah, so I remember that throw too. And then during camp, we have reruns going on, wins from the past. And when I forgot one in that game, we had a 4th and 7 or 8 midfield. I think it was a little bit on the wrong side of the 50. But we're running out of time, so we got to do something. And we went for it. And guess who took a sack? I'd forgotten about that. Convenient, right? How you forget stuff, you know what I mean? So he took a sack, and we didn't pull him out. And I'm glad we didn't, okay? But my point is, like, you know, you go through guys, you know, and not everything thought about today. But it wasn't going well. It wasn't going well, and I forgot how bad until that I walked by it that day, and I was like, oh, that wasn't so good for Brad either. A lot easier to remember the stuff at the end. But, you know, credit, just like Drew missed that field goal. And not that that was a chip shot, but for him to come back in a pressure situation and nail it, you know, that's easier said than done. And it wasn't going good for Mark. It wasn't going well for anybody. And, you know, but he kept playing, and all of a sudden in that fourth quarter, we started looking like an offense. Like we started looking like a team that maybe could do some things. And, you know, so hopefully we just keep it going. But, yeah, just give Mark a lot of credit for staying in there.
I didn't do that. Mike Halas, the Gazette. Kirk, who saw or how did your staff see that Caden had the stuff to compete at this level?
You know, the one I always tell the story, you know, when he found his way to us from Iowa Western, not that he came from too far away, but, you know, he was fast. I mean, my sister could figure that out really quick. He's always been fast. I think his whole story is his evolution, you know, and he was fearless too back then, but you just didn't know what he was going to do, you know, and you didn't know he was going to catch it. You didn't know what he's going to do once he had it. And to me, every step of the way, he's really just really made strides. Last year, obviously, he played great as a return guy, didn't do a lot on offense. And then this year, you know, he's gotten some traction there too, and he's done some really good things offensively. And like, you know, that play last week gave us a chance, almost gave us a chance to win that ball game. So, I mean, 2 years ago, it never would have happened. So he's just, you know, we talked about Shire, talk about, you know, certainly Drew, just that evolution of just staying with it. He's always worked hard. I mean, I don't know if you can wear this guy out. I made that comment to the staff on Wednesday because he returns punts and he returns them when we're punting. He'll be down there catching them, and the guy never stops. You know, I never see him get tired, never see him without a smile on his face. He just loves it. So it's really good to see him really develop into a good football player, an all-around football player. And, you know, thank God he's on our team today because, I mean, we would have been in trouble for sure.
Got a few more in queue. Chris?
Hey, Coach. Chris Megley with the Daily Iowan.
Yep.
This is the second straight year where you relied on the same guy to go win you a game on senior night as time expired. What is your confidence level in Drew Stevens to win games on the line? You could trust him to go win you the game. And what does it mean to you to see these seniors, their last game in Kinnick, to kind of walk out on that high moment for you?
I mean, I think all of us had every faith that Drew would get it done. And easy for us, right? But he's the guy that's got to do it. And, again, I just allude to that. I'm sure that miss was sitting in back there somewhere, but, you know, you got to push that aside too, and he did a great job of that. And then the bigger picture, you know, this team has been so enjoyable to work with. The tough part has been the losses. You know, you win and lose, you compete and all that stuff, but the tough part's been that, like, these guys have played their asses off when we lose. And so, you know, to not play our best and come away with a loss tonight would have been tough. But the seniors have done a great job going back to January. And we're getting leadership from a lot of people, but they've done a great job of staying the course. And I think that was clearly evident tonight too. The guys, there's no negativity on the bench. You know, either area, wherever you go, no negativity, and they were sticking together. And you just keep playing, try to find a way to get it done. And you know, so that's why I'm happy for these guys. Especially the seniors. I mean, you always remember your last game in your home stadium, especially a place like Kinnick. This is such a special place to play.
Tyler Tashman with the Des Moines Register. With Caden and Drew kind of moving their way up the record books, what does LeVar do that you feel like has kind of helped them get to that level?
I mean, a lot. I mean, I think coaching is, you know, it's not everything. You got to have players. You can't win without players, but you know, coaching is everything to me. I mean, that's our job, is to try to do everything we can in our respective areas to try to advance guys from the day they walk in until they leave, and that's what we try to do. But that's a unique position, and I'm so glad that they created that position, or at least gave us the ability to have someone solely dedicated towards that. There's a lot of scheme work, certainly, but there's a lot of individual work too with those specialists. And I still believe this. I think sometimes they got too much time on their hands. The specialists do, the whole group. I mean, you got a lot of work to do. But I mean, think about it. Like, sometimes you can overthink stuff too. And I think that's one thing he guards against. He tries to get the guys just to keep the focus where it needs to be and don't start going down, all these different pathways because it's easy to do. But LeVar's really taken to that role. It was not his position when he assumed that position. We created the position. And, he just keeps getting better with every year. He's done a really, it's kind of like Phil Parker. Phil's a much better coordinator now than he was in 2012. But that's part of the experience, paying attention and really, working hard at your craft. And LeVar does that. And our special teams have been good for quite a while.
Last question, Madison.
Madison Herzig, the Gazette. Kind of following up a little bit, you mentioned that you feel a little bit like a proud dad with how the senior class has evolved. I'm curious, what are some of your favorite moments of this senior class, and what about this senior class is maybe different or something that you'll miss from them after these last 2 games?
Yeah, again, it's really hard to single out individual moments necessarily, but the typically, and you guys heard me say this before, I think typically our leadership base kind of develops. You start out in January. And, you kind of have a feeling about your team prior to spring ball. And then after spring ball, you learn more. Just watch them work under stress a little bit and, do some real hard work, that type of football type work. And then, then there's that period in the summer because summers are hard, for guys training. And then, you go through camp and then so there's a constant evolution. And usually it takes a while. To me, it's like in the summertime somewhere, July or August, where you really kind of get a feel for what kind of group you got. And these guys, it's that part of it's been seamless. There's a lot of other stuff that hasn't been, obviously, but it was like, it was pretty evident we got a bunch of guys that are really focused and committed, and they're listening, and then they're doing, and that's, not all guys are great at listening, and not all guys are great at hearing and then doing, kind of like raising kids again. So it's just, it's kind of the deal. But these guys have been wired in, and then the beauty of that is then, guys that are younger, I tell them all the time, watch guys that know how to operate. That's all you got to do in life is watch people that are good, that know how to operate. And luckily, we got a bunch of those guys sitting in the front of the room, so that helps a lot. That helps you build a team.
Great, thanks, Coach.
Okay, thank you, guys.